this is the main rotunda of the legislature building. This is the first space you come into once you're finished with all the security. It's also where we hold lots of events and ceremonies throughout the year, including Celebrate the Season, which is a number of weeks in December where choirs and other musical groups can come into the legislature and perform right on our grand staircase. Now, you'll also see right behind me a fountain, which was first installed in 1959 to celebrate the first official visit of Queen Elizabeth II. And above our heads in the rotunda, you can see a bunch of flags. These flags are regimental standards. They represent different military units from here in Alberta. But what is the actual purpose of the legislature building? Well, this is the home and workplace of our provincial government. This is where the laws that govern Alberta are debated and made by the members of the Legislative Assembly, or MLAs. These are the people elected to represent everyone across the province of Alberta. And they do all of this work right up the grand staircase and inside the chamber, which we'll be seeing later on today. The legislature didn't exist until 1912, but the Legislative Assembly wanted to start meeting as soon as 1906. So there was a number of years where they had to find other places to hold session. For most of those years, they met in the Mackay Avenue Schoolhouse, which is actually still standing just a few blocks from the legislature. But for the very first meeting, in March of 1906, they wanted to do something a little bit special. So they actually met in the local hockey rink, Thistle Rink. They covered up the ice with sawdust and carpets, and that's where the elected members sat. And 3,000 people from across the province came to watch and were seated up in the bleachers. It's part of why they chose such an unconventional location, because it could accommodate that many people who were excited to see their government in action for the first time. So our assembly moved from hockey rink to schoolhouse, and then finally around November of 1911, they started meeting here in the legislature building. But we've already said that the legislature wasn't completed until 1912, so they actually moved in a little bit before it was ready to go. And so during one of those first few months here, a bit of plaster actually crumbled off one of the pillars in the chamber and fell right next to Premier Sifton's head. He wasn't hurt. He did try to claim it was a plot from the opposition trying to take him out. It wasn't. That's just what happens when you move into a building that is still a work in progress. Despite that setback, the Legislative Assembly of Alberta has used this legislature building for session ever since. And it's also a place where members of the public can come in either to watch session in action or to come for a tour with myself and my colleagues. Now, we have one more statue to check out here on the main floor before we start moving up to check out the rest of the building.